Who sent you those flowers? Roman DeLuca asked, and the jealousy in his voice lasted exactly 3 seconds before something colder replaced it. It was 11:38 on a Thursday night, and Manhattan glittered beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows of the DeLuca Hotel like the city had forgotten how exhausted I was. I had spent 13 hours designing flowers for a private charity gala, and all I wanted was to finish inventory, catch a cab downtown, and sleep until my alarm became somebody else's problem. Instead, I stood in the floral preparation room staring at 13 burgundy roses that had not been there 10 minutes earlier. They rested across my work table beside my pruning shears, wrapped in ivory paper and tied with a charcoal ribbon. Beautiful, expensive, completely unfamiliar. I have no idea, I said. Roman stepped farther into the room. At 36, he had mastered the kind of silence that made powerful people nervous. Tall, dark-haired, perfectly composed in a black suit, he carried the DeLuca name like Manhattan itself had agreed not to question him. I had known him for 3 months. Long enough to recognize irritation. Long enough to recognize amusement. This was neither. Nobody leaves 13 roses without a card, he said. Maybe my mysterious admirer cannot count to 12. Roman did not smile. You think this is funny? I think you are jealous. His eyes settled on mine. Would that bother you? I have not decided. Sophie. Roman. The corner of his mouth almost moved. Almost. Then his attention returned to the bouquet. He walked past me toward the door. I assumed he was leaving until I heard it. Click. My shoulders stiffened. Did you just lock that? I need a private conversation. Then have one with an unlocked door. He turned. Sophie, open it. The room went quiet except for the distant hum of elevators and traffic 30 floors below us. Roman could make hotel executives change schedules with one sentence. He could probably clear the entire building before midnight if he wanted. But I was not one of his employees, and I refused to become another thing he managed. His hand returned to the lock. Click. Open. Thank you. You are remarkably difficult, and yet you keep finding reasons to talk to me. That finally earned the faintest smile. Then Roman approached the roses. Who knew you were working late? My studio manager. The event coordinator. Half the hotel staff. Anyone outside work? Why? Instead of answering, he lifted the bouquet carefully. Something metallic tapped against the work table. A small silver coin rolled from beneath the ribbon, circled once, then fell flat between us. Roman froze. I had never seen that happen before. He picked up the coin and turned it beneath the fluorescent light. One side carried an unfamiliar crest. The other showed a single letter surrounded by a narrow wreath. What is it? I asked. Roman's expression emptied of every trace of jealousy. Where exactly did you find these? Right there. I came back from checking the ballroom, and they were waiting. How long were you gone? Maybe 10 minutes. He looked toward the open doorway, then at the coin again. Roman, you are starting to scare me. His eyes lifted to mine. For the first time since I had met him, I saw something beneath all that control that looked dangerously close to fear. He placed the coin beside the roses. Sophie, whoever sent these knows who I am. For several seconds, I watched Roman turn the silver coin between his fingers. The metal caught the fluorescent light, flashing across the crest before disappearing beneath his thumb. You recognize it, I said. Yes. From where? He placed the coin carefully beside the roses. My family used that symbol years ago. For what? Roman looked at me. It identified people who had access to private family business. I glanced at the open doorway. And somebody just left it under flowers on my desk. Which means I need to know how they got here. He pulled out his phone. Ethan, floral preparation room. Check the service corridor and every camera between here and the ballroom. He ended the call. You could try saying please. He would assume I had been replaced. Despite myself, I smiled. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. I am going home. No, there it was. That effortless command. I picked up my purse. Try again. Roman frowned. Sophie, someone entered a controlled area of my hotel and left an object connected to my family beside flowers intended for you. That explains why you are concerned. It does not explain why you suddenly control my transportation. I will have a car take you home. I have been getting myself home in Manhattan for 9 years. Tonight is different. Then ask. Silence. Roman stared at me like I had requested that gravity reconsider its position. Finally, he exhaled. Would you allow my driver to take you home? No, but that was much better. His jaw tightened. You enjoy this. A little. Before he could answer, a man in a navy suit appeared at the doorway. Ethan Parker, the hotel's security director, held a tablet. We found the delivery. The footage showed the service corridor at 11:21. A man in a DeLuca hotel uniform walked toward the preparation room, carrying an ivory-wrapped bouquet. 7 minutes later, he returned empty-handed. His face stayed turned away from every camera. Which department? Roman asked. Ethan shook his head. None. We checked the employee roster. He does not work here. My stomach tightened. Then where did he get the uniform? We are checking. Ethan changed the footage. The man entered a service stairwell and never appeared on the next visible camera. Roman became very still. Cover every exit record from 11 until now. Preserve the footage. Ethan nodded and left. Roman looked at me. Now will you reconsider the car? I will let you follow me home. That is not enough. It is what I am offering. He studied me, fighting an argument I could almost hear. Fine, but I want someone nearby until morning. You can want whatever you like. Sophie. Roman. He almost smiled again. Then my phone vibrated on the work table. Unknown number. One image attachment. I opened it. The photograph showed me entering my floral studio in Chelsea that morning, coffee in one hand, keys in the other. The timestamp reads 7:46 a.m. Beneath it were 6 words. He cannot protect what he cannot control. My fingers went cold. Roman read the message without reaching for my phone. The silver coin suddenly felt like the least frightening thing in the room. They know where I work. I whispered. Roman's eyes stayed on the photograph. Yes. And where I was this morning. Yes. I swallowed. So what happens now? He looked at me, and this time there was no jealousy in his expression. Only calculation held tightly behind restraint. Now I protect you without becoming your warden. By the time I reached my apartment in Chelsea, Roman's black sedan had followed my cab for 27 blocks without once pulling beside me. That detail mattered. He had promised not to become my warden, and for the moment, he seemed determined to prove he understood the difference. I texted him when I was inside. Home. His reply arrived immediately. Lock the door. I stared at the message, then typed back. That sounded suspiciously like an order. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. A second message arrived. Please lock the door. I smiled despite everything. Better. I slept badly and opened the floral studio at 8 the next morning with 2 coffees and the irrational hope that daylight would make the previous night feel ridiculous. It did not. The photograph was still on my phone. The silver coin was still with Roman. And every stranger passing the front window suddenly seemed worth noticing. At 10:15, Roman walked into the studio carrying coffee from the place across the street. Bribery? I asked. Diplomacy. You are improving. He handed me the cup and looked around the studio. Ethan found something. What? Roman placed his phone on my counter. Another photograph filled the screen. At first I thought it was from last night. Then I recognized my blue sweater. My hair was shorter. The centerpiece behind me was filled with winter branches. That was 3 months ago. December 17th, Roman said. I remembered the date immediately. It was the first DeLuca Foundation event I had ever worked. Roman had been standing beside a long conference table while 6 executives argued about seating arrangements. I had walked straight through their conversation because the centerpiece was leaning 4 inches too far left. Can this wait? Roman had asked me. Flowers do not care who owns the building, I had replied. Neither does gravity. One executive looked horrified. Roman looked amused. I fixed the arrangement, then noticed his boutonniere sitting crooked against his lapel. Hold still. Do you always give orders to clients? Only the difficult ones. I adjusted the flower. Roman laughed. Not politely. Genuinely. I remembered thinking it changed his entire face. Back in my studio, I stared at the photograph. Someone had captured that exact moment. Where did Ethan find this? It was sent to an inactive hotel email account early this morning. Beneath the image was a sentence. You noticed her before she noticed you. I looked at Roman. Is that true? He did not pretend to misunderstand. Yes. How long? Since that night. 3 months. 3 months. I folded my arms. And what exactly did you notice? His eyes rested on mine. That everyone in that room cared who I was except you. I cared. Your centerpiece was crooked. A quiet smile appeared. Exactly. For a few seconds, the fear loosened its grip. Then I looked back at the photograph. This means whoever is doing this has been watching longer than we thought. Roman nodded. Or they had access to someone who was. That is not better. No, my phone vibrated. Unknown number again. No photograph this time. Just one sentence. Ask him why everyone is afraid to disappoint him. I showed Roman. The warmth disappeared from his expression. Well, I asked. That answer requires more than coffee. I have an entire pot. He looked toward the studio window, then back at me. Sophie, whoever is sending these messages is not only watching you. They are testing what happens when someone I care about refuses to be controlled. I held his gaze. Then I suggest you do not give them the answer they expect. Roman stayed for another 20 minutes that morning, but he did something I had not expected. He left without telling me what to do. No instructions. No driver waiting at the curb. No quiet announcement that someone would be watching the studio. I noticed because with Roman, restraint was louder than most people's promises. By noon, 3 brides had called, 2 deliveries were late, and I had almost managed to feel normal again. Then I saw the man across the street. Dark coat, coffee cup, standing beside a black sedan. He was not looking directly at me, which somehow made him more obvious. I walked outside, crossed the sidewalk, and stopped 5 feet from him. Does Roman know you are terrible at being invisible? The man blinked. Miss Miller, I am only here to protect me. He said nothing. I called Roman. He answered immediately. Sophie, there is a man outside my studio. Silence. His name is Daniel. That is lovely. Tell Daniel goodbye. He is staying outside. You promised. I promised not to control you. Secretly assigning security to me is control with better tailoring. Roman exhaled slowly. Someone has photographed you twice. And that scares me. But fear does not transfer ownership of my decisions to you. This is not about ownership. Then why did you decide without asking? He had no immediate answer. Traffic moved behind me. A horn sounded somewhere towards 7th Avenue. Daniel stared very seriously at his coffee. You keep calling control protection because protection sounds kinder, I said. Roman was quiet long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Then he said, put Daniel on. I handed over the phone. Daniel listened for 5 seconds, returned it, and walked to the sedan. Less than a minute later, the car disappeared into traffic. Thank you, I said. I do not like this. You do not have to. I know. That answer surprised me more than the argument. Sophie, I spent years learning how to remove uncertainty from every room I entered. I am discovering you are unusually committed to putting it back. Maybe uncertainty is what happens when other people are allowed choices. Another silence. Softer this time. Maybe. We ended the call. At 4:30, a hardware delivery arrived at the studio. Inside the box was a high-security deadbolt, still sealed in the manufacturer's packaging. No installer appeared behind it. No appointment had been scheduled. A cream card rested on top. Roman's handwriting was precise. Use it if you want it. I ran my thumb over the edge of the card and smiled despite myself. He was learning. Slowly. Expensively. But learning. I placed the box beneath the counter and finished the day. At 6:10, while preparing to close, I noticed something on the work table that had not been there earlier. An ivory envelope. My name was written across the front. I checked the door. Locked. I checked the rear entrance. Also locked. My heartbeat accelerated as I opened the envelope. Inside was a photograph of Daniel standing across the street that afternoon. On the back, someone had written a single sentence. He listened to you. That makes you dangerous. I stared at the words until the studio seemed too quiet. Then I noticed a familiar scent beneath the paper. Roses. I turned toward the consultation table near the window. A long ivory box sat beneath it, half hidden in shadow. I had not put it there. I walked closer and lifted the lid. 12 burgundy roses surrounded one perfect white rose. A silver coin rested between the stems. This time I did not call Roman because I was frightened. I called because the look on his face when he saw that arrangement was going to tell me what the sender already knew. Roman arrived 12 minutes after my call. I knew because I spent every one of those minutes staring at the white rose in the center of the arrangement and wondering why one flower could make an entire room feel different. When the studio door opened, Roman stepped inside alone. His gaze found me first, then the ivory box. He stopped. No question, no command, just silence. You recognize it, I said. He walked toward the table slowly. Where was it? Under the consultation table. And the envelope? I handed him the photograph of Daniel. Roman read the sentence on the back. He did not react until he saw the arrangement. 12 burgundy roses. 1 white. Silver coin between the stems. His face changed. Not dramatically. Roman never gave emotion that much freedom, but I had learned his silences. This one carried history. Tell me, I said. He looked at me. 8 years ago, my father received the same arrangement. Exactly the same? 12 burgundy roses around one white rose. A silver coin beneath them. I pulled out the chair opposite the work table. Sit. His eyebrow lifted. Was that an order? Yes. To my surprise, he sat. I took the other chair. What happened 8 years ago? Roman turned the coin between his fingers. My father trusted a man named Victor Shaw. He handled private financial matters for the family for almost 15 years. The arrangement arrived when questions about several accounts began surfacing. Who sent it? Victor. Why? It was a warning disguised as a confession. The white rose represented one person standing apart from the rest. The coin meant the betrayal came from inside. I looked at the flowers. And now somebody is repeating it. Yes. Could Victor be doing this? Roman shook his head. He has been gone from our world for years. Whoever sent these either knows the story or has access to records that explain it. How many people have that access? Not many. People you trust? His eyes met mine. That is what concerns me. I leaned back. So the first bouquet was not really about me. Roman hesitated. It was delivered to you. That was not my question. No. The message was meant for me. The answer should have made me feel safer. It did not. Then why use my studio? Why photograph me? Roman looked toward the envelope. Because whoever is doing this knows I care what happens to you. There it was again. Care. A simple word that sounded dangerous in his voice because Roman treated feelings like confidential information. And the jealousy? I asked. His mouth tightened. Real. Good to know. Sophie, I am trying to understand the hierarchy of problems. For the first time since entering, he almost smiled. Jealousy was inconvenient. This is different. Because someone knows your past. Because someone knows where to place the message, so I cannot ignore it. My humor disappeared. Meaning me. Meaning you. I looked around my studio. My invoices. My ribbon wall. The chipped ceramic mug beside the register. Everything ordinary I had built for myself suddenly seemed connected to a world I had never chosen. Roman, I need some distance. His expression closed instantly. That is not safe. Do not do that. Do what? Turn fear into a decision for me. He looked away, jaw tight. I waited for the command. It almost came. I saw it in his face. Then Roman stopped himself. How much distance? He asked. Enough to know that if I come back, it is because I chose to. The words settled between us. Roman placed the silver coin on the table and stood. All right. I had prepared myself to fight him. His agreement left me strangely unsteady. At the door, he glanced at the unopened deadbolt box beneath my counter. Use it if you want it, he said. Then he left. For the first time since the roses appeared, Roman DeLuca walked away from something he wanted to protect because I had asked him to. And somehow, that frightened me less than how much it made me want to trust him. For 3 days, Roman gave me exactly what I had asked for. No calls. No black sedans. No messages disguised as casual questions about whether I had eaten lunch. I should have felt relieved. Instead, every time the studio door opened, some unreasonable part of me expected to see him standing there. By Monday morning, Manhattan had settled into a cold gray rhythm, and I buried myself in work. I had 6 wedding consultations, 2 corporate installations, and enough inventory to keep my mind occupied. Then I opened a shipment of burgundy roses and stopped. The color was familiar. So was the stem length. I pulled one from the box and checked the grower label. Montclair Burgundy. Premium grade. 26-inch stems. My pulse quickened. I retrieved the paperwork from the second mysterious bouquet. Ethan had photographed every label before the flowers were removed. Same cultivar. Same grade. Same importer code. That was not impossible, but it was unusual. Montclair Burgundy roses were expensive and limited in New York that week because a delayed shipment had reduced supply. I called my wholesaler. Maya, how many Manhattan distributors received this importer batch? 2, she said. Us and Hudson Floral Exchange. Can you tell me who purchased from Hudson? Absolutely not. Worth asking. She laughed. Why? Complicated client situation. Your favorite kind. After we hung up, I stared at the importer code. Roman had spent days searching through family history, hotel access, security footage, and private records. I had spent 15 years learning that flowers carried their own paperwork. At 11:12, I called him. He answered immediately. Sophie, I found something. A pause. Tell me. Not over the phone. I can be there in 20 minutes. You are assuming I want you here. Silence. Then do you? I smiled. Yes. He arrived 18 minutes later, alone. That mattered too. I spread the invoices across my work table and explained the shipment. Roman listened without interrupting. So Hudson Floral Exchange may know who bought the roses, he said. Maybe. He reached for his phone. Give me the information. I will handle it. I stared at him. Roman stopped with his thumb above the screen. His expression changed. I did it again. You did. He put the phone down. What do you want to do? The question felt bigger than it should have. I want to go to Hudson and ask about the commercial shipment records I am legally allowed to access as an event vendor. If they cannot release anything, we stop there and use proper channels. Roman clearly wanted to object. Instead, he nodded. All right. 2 hours later, we stood inside Hudson Floral Exchange near the refrigerated storage floor. The manager could not provide private buyer information, but she confirmed that a matching commercial order had been placed through a vendor connected to an upcoming DeLuca Foundation event. That was enough. Roman contacted Ethan and the hotel's legal team. By late afternoon, they had verified the vendor through authorized event records. Mercer Financial Advisory. I watched Roman read the name on his phone. Caleb Mercer? I asked. His face went still. He has advised my family for 12 years. Would he know about Victor Shaw? Yes. The coin? Yes. The arrangement? Roman looked at me. Yes. A new message arrived on his phone from Ethan. Another floral order had already been scheduled under the same vendor account. 13 roses. Delivery tomorrow evening. DeLuca Foundation Gala. Roman's first reaction appeared immediately. You are staying away from that hotel tomorrow. I raised one eyebrow. He closed his eyes briefly. No. That was wrong. Very. Roman exhaled. Then he looked at me and tried again. Sophie, knowing what we know, what do you want to do? I looked at the scheduled delivery time. I want to see the third bouquet. Roman hated my answer. I could see that clearly, but he did not replace it with his own. Then, he said quietly, we see it together. The third bouquet was scheduled to arrive at 7:15 Tuesday evening, and by 7:10 I had already checked the service entrance clock 4 times. The DeLuca Foundation Gala filled the hotel ballroom with nearly 300 guests, soft piano music, white linen, and enough flowers to make the entire room smell like spring despite the cold Manhattan night outside. I stood near the main floral installation pretending to adjust a branch of white orchids. Roman was 20 feet away speaking with 2 foundation board members. Ethan remained near the ballroom entrance. That arrangement had been my choice. Roman had asked where I wanted security positioned, and I had answered. 5 days earlier, he would have simply decided. At 7:14, a hotel employee entered carrying a long ivory box. My pulse quickened. He placed it on the designated floral service table, signed the delivery sheet, and walked away. Roman looked at me. He did not move until I nodded. We approached together. Ready? He asked. Yes. I lifted the lid. 13 roses. 12 burgundy. 1 white. A silver coin rested beneath the ribbon. Same message? Roman asked. Not exactly. I counted the stems again. The white rose was 7th from the left. There are 13 flowers. I noticed. How many people are in your private advisory circle? Roman's expression changed. 13. I looked toward the seating chart beside the event binder. 13 advisory members had reserved places at the foundation table. Seat 7 belonged to Caleb Mercer. Roman. He followed my gaze. The white rose is number 7. His face became perfectly still. That does not prove anything. No, and we are not going to pretend it does. He looked at me, and I saw approval beneath the tension. Good. Caleb arrived 9 minutes later. He was 50, silver-haired, polished, and relaxed enough to look like a man attending an event he had helped organize. Roman introduced us. Sophie Miller, Caleb said warmly. I have heard a surprising amount about you. Hopefully nothing about my invoices. He laughed. Then his eyes moved toward the ivory box. It happened quickly, but I saw exactly where he looked. Not at the roses. At the silver coin. Roman saw it too. Caleb recovered immediately and joined another group of guests. He knew where to look? I whispered. Yes. Ethan approached 20 minutes later with information verified through the hotel's attorneys and authorized vendor records. Mercer Financial Advisory had approved all 3 commercial floral orders. More importantly, Caleb's credentials had been used months earlier to access archived family files concerning Victor Shaw, including photographs of the old bouquet and documentation explaining the coin. The answer settled into place. Victor had never returned. Caleb had borrowed an old betrayal and dressed it in flowers. Why? I asked. Roman looked across the ballroom. Because he wanted me looking backward instead of at him. Ethan quietly added that financial discrepancies connected to one of Caleb's managed accounts were already being reviewed. Roman's expression hardened. He started toward Caleb. I touched his sleeve. He stopped. He planned for your anger, I said. He wanted you suspicious, controlling, predictable. Roman stared at Caleb for several seconds. Around us, guests laughed beneath warm chandeliers, unaware that 12 years of trust had just collapsed without making a sound. If you give him the reaction he designed, I said, he still gets to control what happens next. Roman looked at me. Then something in his face settled. Ethan, preserve everything. Give counsel copies of the vendor records and access logs. Let the proper authorities handle anything that requires them. Ethan nodded. Roman remained beside me. No confrontation. No spectacle. Across the ballroom, Caleb looked toward us, waiting for the man he thought he understood. Roman never came. I looked at the 13 roses and realized the sender had made one mistake. He had expected Roman's power to make him predictable. He had not expected Roman to learn restraint. For the next 40 minutes, the gala continued as if nothing had changed. The pianist moved into a slower song. Servers crossed the ballroom with trays of sparkling water and champagne. Donors smiled for photographs beneath the DeLuca Foundation banner. Caleb remained near the far side of the room, speaking with guests while Ethan quietly coordinated with counsel. I kept expecting Roman to disappear into some private office and take control of everything. He did not. He stayed beside me. You are staring, he said. I am observing. That sounds more professional. I am a professional. Roman glanced at the 13 roses. You found the pattern before any of us. Because you were looking for an enemy. I was looking at flowers. His mouth curved slightly. That may be the first time flowers have defeated 12 years of financial strategy. Do not underestimate florists. Shortly after 8, Ethan returned. His expression told me the situation had moved beyond suspicion. Counsel confirmed the access records, he said quietly. The archived material Caleb opened included photographs of Victor Shaw's arrangement, notes describing the silver coin, and the meaning of the white rose. The vendor authorization also traces back to his office. Roman nodded. And the accounts? The review found irregular transfers that require formal investigation. Counsel is preparing everything for the appropriate authorities. Roman looked across the ballroom at Caleb. So the flowers were meant to provoke me before the records surfaced. That is our working conclusion, Ethan said. He wanted you focused on an old betrayal while questions around his own accounts were beginning. Ethan left us again. I studied Roman's face. Are you all right? No, the answer surprised me. But I will be. You trusted him. For 12 years. That does not make trusting him a mistake. Roman looked at me. Most people in my world would disagree. Most people in your world sound exhausting. A quiet laugh escaped him. Then his expression softened. 3 weeks ago, I would have handled tonight differently. I know. You would have hated it. Probably. You might have hated me. I shook my head. Do not decide my feelings for me. We have covered this. That earned a real smile. Apparently, the lesson continues. Near 9, Caleb left the ballroom accompanied by his attorney after being informed that his access to DeLuca accounts and internal systems had been suspended pending review. There was no public scene. No raised voices. Most guests never noticed. That somehow made the moment feel more final. Roman watched the ballroom doors close behind him. He expected anger, he said, because anger would have made you easier to manipulate. And you expected me to control everything around you because I was afraid. You were not entirely wrong to be afraid. That is not the same as being entitled to control you. I looked at him. Now you understand. I am beginning to. The gala ended after 10. When I collected my coat, Roman walked with me toward the lobby. Outside, Manhattan glowed beneath a clear winter sky. A black sedan waited at the curb. Roman opened the hotel door, then stopped. Would you like a ride home? I smiled. You asked. I did. Yes, I would. He held the door while I stepped outside. Halfway to the car, I noticed something unusual about the silence between us. For the first time since the first bouquet appeared, there was nothing hidden inside it. No anonymous message waiting to be understood. No silver coin carrying someone else's history. No command disguised as concern. Roman had spent years believing power meant controlling what happened next. That night, he learned something harder. Sometimes power meant standing beside an open door and waiting for someone else to choose whether to walk through it. 1 month later, the only flower Roman DeLuca brought into my studio was a single white rose. It was 6:20 on a Friday evening, and I was closing early after a week of wedding consultations when the bell above the door chimed. "We are closed," I called from behind the counter. "That seems personal." I knew the voice before I looked up. Roman stood inside wearing a charcoal overcoat, one hand holding the rose wrapped in plain brown paper. No ivory box. No silver coin. No hidden message. I smiled. Should I be concerned? I hope not. "Where did you get that?" "I bought it." "By yourself?" The florist seemed surprised too. I laughed and reached for the rose. Any mysterious symbolism I should know about? Only what I intend it to mean. Which is? Roman glanced around my studio. The high-security deadbolt he had sent me was installed on the front door now. I had hired my own locksmith. I had chosen the appointment. Roman had never asked whether I used it. Somehow, that made me appreciate it more. "A beginning," he said. I looked at him over the white petals. "That sounds dangerously sentimental. Do not repeat it. Your reputation would never recover." A month had passed since the gala. The records preserved by Ethan and the hotel's attorneys had confirmed that Caleb used his vendor account to order the bouquets and accessed the archived files describing Victor Shaw's old arrangement and silver coin. The financial questions had been turned over through proper legal channels, and Caleb no longer had access to the DeLuca organization. Roman had refused to give him the dramatic confrontation he had tried to provoke. More importantly, Roman had not tried to replace that lost control by controlling me. He called when he wanted to talk. He asked before sending a car. Sometimes I said yes. Sometimes I said no. The world continued turning either way. "I came to ask you something," Roman said. "You are developing an impressive new skill." "I have been practicing." "Go ahead." He slipped his hands into his coat pockets. For a man who could silence a ballroom by entering it, he suddenly looked almost uncertain. "Would you have dinner with me? Is there already a reservation?" "No." "A car waiting?" "No. An entire restaurant secretly cleared for us." His mouth curved. "You make me sound unreasonable." I raised an eyebrow. "There is no correct answer to that." He laughed. "Then you choose the restaurant." I picked up my coat. "I know a place 3 blocks away." Roman looked toward the windows. "We are walking. New York has sidewalks for a reason." "I have heard rumors." I turned off the lights and joined him at the entrance. His hand moved toward the deadbolt, then stopped. He stepped aside instead. I locked the door myself, tested it once, and slipped the key into my pocket. My studio. My lock. My choice. Roman opened the outer door and held it while cold Manhattan air swept inside. I paused beside him. "You know what is strange? I suspect you are going to tell me. The first time you locked a door around me, I thought you believed power meant nobody could tell you no." His expression softened. "I probably did. And now?" Roman looked through the open doorway toward the crowded sidewalk. "Now I think power means hearing no without punishing someone for saying it." I held his gaze for a moment, then stepped outside because I wanted to. Roman followed without reaching for me. Halfway down the block, he offered his hand. I took it. He had spent most of his life believing that protecting something meant holding it tightly enough that it could never leave. I never taught him to become less powerful. I taught him where power ended, and he taught himself the rest. Roman DeLuca could make rooms fall silent, change plans with a sentence, and command attention without asking for it. But the night that mattered most, he did something far harder. He left the door open and trusted me to choose whether I stayed.